welcome to the chat. I'm Tony Fox, Henny Angelia
It's
today.
Friday!
I know. It's Friday.
We made it.
We are so glad it's Friday. You know, for parents, I don't know. It's the second day of school for St. Johns County. Duval goes back next week.
Again, yay!
So, yeah, moms are counting down.
I'm not
too happy about that. That means
You're
traffic's
not?
no, that means traffic's going to be bad again.
Yeah, that's true.
Buses
Traffic
start.
does get bad. But it is the weekend, so hopefully everyone has fun weekend plans. Right now, we're going to chat because that's what we do on the show. That's why it's called The Chat. So we're going to get started with some news that could impact how you watch TV or movies. Disney announced plans to pull out of Netflix and launch its own streaming service within a couple years. The company also plans to launch its own ESPN video streaming service early next year. That is going to feature 10,000 sporting events each year. This has people nervous about what other companies could decide to branch off into their own streaming service. So, I mean, it seems like I actually read an article that people are cutting that cable cord by enormous numbers.
You have to. I mean, the cable
right.
bill starts at $90 a month, and then it goes up to $140 a month before you know it. It's so expensive to
that's
have
on the
cable
low end.
anymore.
I know of people that's paying way over $200 a month
because
just
they have
to
all the
watch
sports
TV.
channels, and that's the thing. That's why they're going into the sports arena. They need to.
I have been hearing from so many people over the years about cutting the cable bill, and I'm thinking there's no way. I have to have these. I have to watch my Bravo. I have to watch Lifetime. I have to watch OWN. I didn't think it was possible until one day the local cable company, I'm not going to say their name, but y'all know who I'm talking about, they really made me mad. And I said, you know what? Hashtag done.
So what'd you do?
When I made that phone call to tell them to cut it off, all the way off, don't even leave nothing trickling down, that was the best decision of my whole adult life.
So how do you watch TV, though?
Easy. There's Netflix, there's Hulu, there's, what's the little box thingy I got?
I don't know.
Whatever,
Like
Roku.
Roku.
Yeah,
well,
Roku,
you can,
yes. I have all that, and I have Showtime through my Roku box.
Yeah.
So I can still watch
you
it.
can get those things streaming.
$10 a month.
My co-host on the air, John Scott, does not have cable.
And
he
I
doesn't
don't
even
miss
have
it
TV,
1 second.
but he watches everything. He watches a lot of YouTube stuff and stuff that you're talking about. Now, in full disclosure, I love Xfinity X1. I do endorse them. Yeah. And I do love everything they provide. I will have to say that. But I do. But I know a lot of people are, you know, like you said, the numbers are getting pretty big cutting that cable. And I think it's because you start to realize what channels that you don't watch. And
you start to realize what's important to you and what's not important to me. And paying over $200 a month just to be entertained for a few minutes, sorry, that did not do it for me anymore. No. Because, you know, when you have television, there's only a certain, you have your certain channels that you're going to watch all the way.
Right. But that's why we should be able to actually just click on those channels that we watch, those 10 channels, and pay for those 10 channels when they have the monopoly on every single channel, and I have to thumb through 500 channels to get to one station
that's probably
that I like.
coming. Those a la carte things are probably coming. I mean, you know, there's been more and more talk of that where you can pick and choose, you know, exactly. But for now, they do have sports packages, or they have the movie packages, or you know, whatever. So they kind of mix them, and you know. I don't know. This may be the future.
I want a la carte, and I think if Disney's going to take over, I think it'll be great for parents too, who are really trying to monitor what their kids are watching. Because I always hear from my friends that are, you know, they're clicking through the channels, and if they go through Bravo, they're going to hear crazy words. If they go through any other channel,
these days, if they go through anything,
I was going to say, and sometimes, you know, just sports channels, sometimes they'll throw some words around.
Like I know on my TV, I don't have it, but I can do it so there's a parental thing you do.
Parental guidance.
You can, but still, I think if Disney is covering it, I think that you won't have to do that.
It may
I think
be
they could just thumb through any channel. I think that'd be a lot better for parents.
It'll be interesting to see what the future will be in just maybe even 3 years. I think maybe it holds it for
landscape. I don't
bring it on.
Bring it. Speaking of bring it, we're going to talk about another shakeup when it comes to entertainment. David Letterman, he is only 2 years into retirement, and he's already getting antsy because he's hosting a new talk show for Netflix. There's no title yet, but it sounds different from what he did on The Late Show. It'll be an hour-long pre-taped show where each episode will focus on one topic. Now, Netflix says it'll feature, quote, in-depth conversations with extraordinary people and in the field segments, expressing how his curiosity and also getting a piece of his humor. So, you know, David Letterman, he mentioned, you know, in a recent interview that before you go to retire, make sure you run it by your family and make sure they're okay with it. So that tells me his wife probably like, please find something to do, get out my face.
You know what it is? They want that beard gone. They've had enough of the beard.
I don't think they will.
Beard. Oh, the beard. He already said that his family, his wife and kid hate that beard. But
I think it's kind of sexy.
He may keep that beard. Do you? It's like a Santa Claus. It's big and bushy.
It just makes him look more manly, like,
he may keep the beard for Netflix. I mean, that may be part of the deal. I don't know.
Well, we had a chance to preview a brief few seconds of one of the episodes, and he is full on beard, Santa Claus beard.
That's the deal.
Well, that's his new look. That's his retired look. But I want to know how much he's making, because Netflix paid Chris Rock $40 million for his 2 little segments that he had on there.
I chipped in on that too, because I paid my bill every month.
Yeah, exactly. And then who else did they have? Seinfeld. Seinfeld was on there, and they paid him $100 million.
Well, Letterman doesn't need the money,
So you can imagine what they're going to pay Letterman. It's going to be that or more.
You know, I think
not that he
doing
needs
it
the
just
money,
to get out the
but I think
house.
it'll be interesting to find out what they do pay him for 2 segments, 2 little hour segments. I think that'll be really interesting to see what they pay.
And in light of that, it is interesting because news is coming out about Netflix and the fact that they are having some financial difficulties because, you know, Netflix is not expensive. It's $10 a month, right?
Right.
And so they're saying not only do they do this where they pay some stars to do specials, they produce their own shows, like Orange is the New Black. That's a Netflix show. And they're saying the costs of all of these things are not being covered by a simple $10 subscriber fee each
That's just
month.
a reason for them to go up on the rates.
So, I mean, that's what they're saying. But I can understand how it would be. I can understand how the numbers might. If you're paying people like just those 2 that she mentioned, that kind of money.
Well, shorten their paycheck. What about that? Because they don't need the money any darn way.
Well, but I'm just saying, if that's
They're
what they're doing.
loaded.
Because listen, ESPN was doing all fine and good until they had to go lay off 150 people recently, and they were paying, you know, gazillion. I mean, their packages, the numbers that they paid for their packages just became enormous. I was like, how are they making money? And the answer was, they really haven't been doing a good job of it. So I wonder if Netflix, I wonder if something's going to happen with them.
But back to Letterman, I think Letterman just needs something to do. I think he had 33 years in the business of television, and then jumping out and jumping into, he calls it the real world, not having an assistant at his hand. He didn't even know how to use a telephone. He did not make telephone calls. He had an assistant that did that. Well, it's in his world maybe not so much because he doesn't have the time and he can afford to hire somebody.
Life skills, but I guess I get it.
But he's always said, he's like, whenever I retire, I'm going to need therapy to get back into the real world. And so I think that's what's happening is he's needing to get back into television because he can't take the real world. The real world is a little bit different than television world.
He's still not in the real world because he still ain't got to struggle because he got a big old fat bank account.
Well, he never will.
That ain't real world.
He may have to struggle with home stuff. You never know. Now he's at home with the kids and a real life and a wife to do.
And the wife is like, go back to work.
Please find something to do to get out my face.
Oh my God.
Get on my nerves.
Well, here's something else that may or may not be successful. You've heard of self-driving cars, but self-driving airplanes? Yep. The aviation industry says it hopes to introduce pilotless planes by 2025, just 8 years away from now. And experts say self-flying planes could save up to $35 billion a year and make flights safer and more efficient. But out of the 8,000 people that surveyed globally, only 17% said that they would fly in one.
Surprise!
I would do this. And then they say half of those that were surveyed say they wouldn't buy a pilotless plane ticket even if it was cheaper. And I was looking at this, and the tickets are going to be $40, around $40 is what they're saying. And what we pay now, an average of $400 a plane ticket.
Wait a minute, we're only going to save $40?
No, pay $40. So to go somewhere in this pilotless plane, it's going to be $40 on an average cost. I would so sign up for this in a hot second. I would do this, and I'll tell you why. The planes are like a drone plane. They're not like a regular passenger plane that we fly on, you know, United or Delta or anything. It's a drone plane, and with that comes a pilot that's on the ground who's actually flying this plane. So you have a pilot, but you don't have to hire as many pilots to fly this. So you have one that is flying it. So listen. And it actually has a parachute. So just like a Cirrus plane.
Like for us?
If you've heard of a Cirrus plane, the Cirrus planes have an emergency
so the
pilot.
pilots are not for us in the plane?
Yes.
Obviously
it's for your
not,
passengers. They're for the passengers.
This is not convincing
This is going to increase safety in the air. This is going to be so much better. I'm telling you, I cannot wait for 2025. I am signing up.
Wait 1 second. Okay, so the pilot's on the ground flying it.
Yes.
Remote control airplane and you inside.
And
you paying $40 to kill yourself.
Parachutes for each passenger has a parachute.
Yeah, there is one on board. Yes, correct.
For each person.
Correct.
Do they fall like the masks do or are they under your seat cushion?
They didn't go into all of the details.
So
just a little bit of it.
That just doesn't make me feel any safer.
Okay,
that we all have a parachute.
Okay, so then let's look
and the guy is down at the ground.
Then let's look at since 1991, the space shuttle has been flying itself. That is manually operated, flying itself from someone who is on the ground, coming from space to the ground, or from the ground into space. So that is the same exact thing.
It doesn't make me feel any better.
It's been in existence
it doesn't
already.
Make me feel better.
Astronauts are doing it.
How many more numbers of flights, regular flights, go as compared to the space shuttle? I know you're one of the very few people. Everybody else is like, no.
There is no way. Number one, why would I pay $40 to kill myself? Because that's what's going to happen. And number two, how do you find the guts to step into a plane with no pilot?
I know.
Someone down on the ground with a remote control, like, heck no.
I mean, I get the fact that the pilot doesn't have skin in the game. I get that. So I'm thinking, I totally understand that if you're not on the plane, you don't have skin in the game, that you've got to make sure the
batteries die in the drone while you're up in the air?
Batteries. The batteries are not going to die.
I'm taking that chance.
They actually have to go through FAA certification to prove that it is actually safer to fly in this plane than it is to drive in a car.
You know what?
And they're on the verge of doing it.
You can do the testing all you want.
But before you do,
we're going to wait. And
leave all your handbags to me before you go up.
Yeah, you get involved.
You guys sit on the ground.
I'm good. Now when it's all tested and they've done lots of these flights, lots of flights.
They will do lots.
I still ain't going. Girl, black people don't do that.
They've got 8 years. 8 years, there'll be lots of flights.
All right, coming up next, good news for women who are waiting later to have children. We're going to discuss some of the newest research with Dr. Ali Kazrine when we come back.